What's up, guys? Mike Pendleton here. And it feels like this channel kind of fluctuates. Sometimes it's sports, sometimes it's just fight interviews, sometimes it's, full breakdowns, it's football, it's gambling. We're going back to sports talk, right? I'm still involved in MMA and all the MMA stuff that I do, pulling back on it a little bit because I really want to bring this channel back to my takes, my thoughts, my opinions, and your thoughts and your comments telling me I suck, telling me you agree, telling me I'm right, telling me I'm smart. Those kind of things are what is needed back on this channel. So, given the past 72 hours that we've had in the sports world, I decided I'm going to talk about a few things. Number one, obviously, being the Lakers' massive trade of Anthony Davis, a future first round pick in 20, I want to say it's 2029. I should have it in front of me. I don't because I'm, yes, 2029 first round pick. Anthony Davis, a 2029 first, and Max Christie to the Dallas Mavericks from the Los Angeles Lakers in exchange for Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris. I mean, it is a trade that when it comes down, right, when the Lakers trade for Luka Doncic, it's a trade that everyone says, that's not real, right? All the NBA insiders, anyone who didn't know about this trade, which was 99% of the world, you say, yeah, it's fake. Yeah, there's no way. There's no way that would happen. And then, as I learned of it, I told friends and people around me, like, just wait. It'll be a big investigative, like in-depth, detailed report behind the scenes, if you will, of how this all came together. And then there's some of the crazy parts, right? You hear that the Mavericks were concerned about Luka's conditioning, and he's hurt the same calf, I believe, 3 times in the last 4 years. It's the calf that he's missed, I believe, the last 6 weeks or so with, right? So he's out because his conditioning. He was up to as high as 270, and they were concerned about it. For me, it's it's that for sure. But a lot of the stuff that doesn't make sense about this is where, in my opinion, Mavericks general manager Nico Harrison, where his mindset is. Because you don't trade Luka Doncic. You don't trade him in fantasy sports. You don't trade him in NBA 2K. You don't trade him in real life. You just don't trade a Luka Doncic. Especially for Anthony Davis. You're worried about a guy's conditioning, yet Anthony Davis has had injury history his whole career. Now, recently he's been relatively healthy, but you traded Luka while he was injured for Anthony Davis while he's injured. And then you talked about conditioning and health and long-term success. And another thing that would bother me if I was a Mavericks fan, clearly I'm not, go Boston, but when your GM says, I know the future for the next 3 to 4 years, I don't know what 10 years from now looks like. Let me just stop you right there. You know who does know what the next 10 years of basketball looks like? The Los Angeles Lakers. Yeah, I know there's going to be we're not sure if Luka's going to sign a contract extension with LA and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he will. Yeah, he will. And if now there's rumors LeBron may stay around, look at that. One team said, let's go get our guy. And that was the Mavericks, right? Because Nico Harrison apparently, reportedly, was so fixated on getting Anthony Davis that he went to the Lakers and said, "Would you, Luka? Would you do that? Like AD in a first for Luka?" And these talks developed over time, but that's a short-term window for a team that Luka carried to the finals. And now you just removed Luka. Not to say Anthony Davis can't lead a team to the NBA Finals, but in the West, and the nonsense of people saying, "Oh, the Mavericks are the number one seed in the West." Yeah, right. Not with the way the Oklahoma City Thunder are playing, and the Thunder don't. The Thunder are a prime example of a team that doesn't need to go all in. They've got more draft picks over the next few years that most NBA teams have talent on their roster. Now, currently, the Mavericks are the eighth seed. You got pundits and talking heads saying this is the number one team in the West. There are seven teams better than the Mavericks currently right now, including the Lakers. Now the Lakers are going to have a big hole to address. They got to, upgrade their center position. The trade deadline is on Thursday. We're recording this on Tuesday, so there will be another video. That's what we're going to try to do Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're going to get out a sports podcast on this YouTube channel. But to me, this is not just a blockbuster trade in the moment. It's not a trade that sets up the Lakers for the next, I'll say, 8 years or so. This is a trade that signifies two things. Number one, this is no longer LeBron's NBA. This isn't even LeBron's Lakers anymore. The moment the paperwork and the league and everybody announces the trade, this is now the Luka Lakers. And I take nothing away from the remarkable career of LeBron James. He's set so many records, won championships, done this, done that. This trade was made for post LeBron, but also to ease the pain of LeBron leaving. Anthony Davis is 32 years old. So you were going to get what? A potential 2, 3 year window, no LeBron, all AD? How do you build around that? Now you're going to have people flocking to the Lakers because Dallas tried it, right? They brought in Porzingis, they had Jalen Brunson, they have Kyrie, right? They've tried putting these little pieces together, but they never went all in. And now, to the benefit of his own, Luka's going to have a franchise like the Lakers that the aura, the legacy, the championships. Oh, and by the way, the opportunity to be Luka's running mate. Luka's going to get a chance to build his own super team with the Lakers. He's not going to be a part of a team. He's going to get to build his team. He's going to bring people to LA. He's going to be the face of the Lakers franchise, if not in the next 2 years, for the next 8 years. That is just what it is. This is no longer, LeBron didn't hear of the trade until after or moments before it was set to be announced. This wasn't, hey, LeBron, we're going to trade AD. We know you guys are close. Can you sign off on it? The Lakers don't care. Rob Pelinka didn't care. This was, we're going to make our franchise better for years to come. Now, I thought it would open a door for a potential talk on a LeBron trade. Obviously, you have the rumors dating back to last year with the Golden State Warriors, but no. LeBron's supposedly, according to Chris Haynes, is going to stay in LA past the deadline and now talks of a contract extension. That's wild, first and foremost. That's a little bit wild to me. But secondly, this is not LeBron's Lakers. This is Luka's team now. And this is not LeBron's NBA. Now we're going to really start seeing some seismic moves, I believe, because what the trade of Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic does is it opens the floodgates. Now teams are calling about a Giannis. I wouldn't be shocked if teams called Denver about a Jokic, right? Now your superstars are. I wonder if Boston's received calls about Tatum or Brown, and I'm not reporting that they have. I have no inside information. But when you trade two stars, people around the league start looking to see what other stars could be traded. I mean, it didn't take long in the NFL. 2 days after that, after the Luka trade, Myles Garrett requested trade. Cooper Kupp announces he's going to get traded. We're now, not only did this trade signify it's Luka's Lakers, it's not LeBron's NBA. This showed another big thing. I said it showed two things, right? One, this is no longer LeBron's world. Number two, for so long, players have been criticized and crucified for their loyalty or lack of loyalty to these NBA teams. Luka Doncic made All NBA for the past 5 seasons, took the Dallas Mavericks to the finals last year, and he's gone before the next season. They're reigning Western Conference champions, and he gets traded. He's made multiple appearances over the last few years in the Western Conference finals. Traded. So all these years we've spent saying super teams in the NBA are bad, players have no loyalty. Organizations clearly have no loyalty. That brotherhood of super teams, because hey, I'm best friends with D Wade and we really like Chris Bosh and it makes basketball sense, it makes friendship sense. Let's go make this super team. Kevin Durant, I'm friends with Steph and Clay, and let's go make this super team. Right? Those days are about to be over. Now I think we're going to start seeing these teams put together their own super teams. You're going to see more big moves in the coming years like this. But what I want to stop seeing is these, I have to call them trolls, right? Because it's so clear and obvious that you wipe the Cheeto dust off your fingers. You you do something, you get out of the house, you see a little bit of sunlight during the day, and you just tell yourself, I didn't mean what I put on Twitter, right? Stop with this conspiracy. Like, sports and conspiracy theories are crazy to me. You want to have them about your everyday life and the world that we live in, that's one thing. But when there's finances and money and all these other, other owners in the NBA, when there's all these factors, the funniest thing I've heard is, well, the league needed this. The league made this happen. The NBA, you're right. Adam Silver said, listen, Rob Pelinka, listen, Nico Harrison, you guys have to trade Luka for Anthony Davis on a Saturday night when no one expects it, a week before the Super Bowl. You have to do it. We need a star after LeBron. We need this. We need the Lakers back. We need all the European fans. We need all of them to be Laker fans. That's what we need. Stop. You know how ridiculous that sounds? Just stop. Now I tell you what, the Lakers and Mavericks trade blockbuster of epic proportions. People talk about, wow, what can this relate to in terms of player movement around NBA history? And there's been big trades, right? And I did research. There really hasn't been a trade that really altered the faces of two franchises and also title contention, right? The biggest one in recent history, which not even, I mean, it's big, would probably be Kawhi Leonard and DeMar DeRozan, right? That swap. Um, what the Clippers got and getting Paul George is another one. But, but I go back to this team, the Celtics. I don't know if we've had a trade directly impact title contention like Kevin Garnett being traded to the Boston Celtics. That's how big this feels. And you've had, Shaquille O'Neal traded to the Lakers, Shaquille O'Neal traded to the Heat. We've seen big names moved. Moving a big name is one thing. Moving a big name for another big name is another thing. Making a trade that impact title implications is a whole third different thing. But to make a trade where you look absolutely foolish, ridiculous, and you should be highly criticized for giving up not only a face of your franchise, but a face of the league, because the future is 3 to 4 years, and you've got a really good relationship with Anthony Davis. Makes no sense to me. And while that trade is massive, if you're a true basketball fan, I have NBA League Pass, I watch all the games, play fantasy basketball, throw wagers or two on the NBA, right? If you're a fan of basketball, the bigger trade was the one for De'Aaron Fox and the San Antonio Spurs. Because now, what you're seeing with the Lakers, right? The Lakers went and got Luka. They got the young star. The Spurs got the young star. They got Wemby. All right, we have Chris Paul, but we drafted Stephon Castle, but we gotta we gotta get a guy in here. We gotta get a guy in here that's gonna build a duo that eventually may entice a third to come to San Antonio. That eventually we start to build around these two, and then the third, and then we build a championship contender from the inside out. Right? The Lakers did that with getting Luka and a massive trade, and now you have De'Aaron Fox in San Antonio. I love it. I love it because now Wemby's got the perfect point guard. Pick your poison. Figure out who you're going to guard night in and night out on that team. Who are you going to double? And here's a full trade on that end. The Spurs received De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin. The Kings received Zach LaVine from the Chicago Bulls. Three first round picks in 2025, 2027, and 2031. They received three second round picks. And the Chicago Bulls, we'll touch on them in a second, received Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and their own first round pick back from San Antonio. City Cisco also to the Kings in that trade. The big returns being De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs, three first, and Zach LaVine to Sacramento, and absolutely nothing to the Chicago Bulls. Uh, the Bulls are now in that they were in basketball hell. Now they're getting on the doorstep of basketball purgatory. Um, and I believe basketball hell before because they really couldn't get out of contracts. Now you're going to see them get out of contracts. Fans are just going to have to accept continuously losing and some embarrassing games and performances out of that roster. That's just where things are headed for the Chicago Bulls franchise. Putting Luka on the Lakers is a massive move for the history of the NBA and the future of it. Putting De'Aaron Fox alongside Victor Wembanyama is massive in its own right of restoring a franchise that kind of lost its aura since the days of Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili. Yes, Greg Popovich has kept that culture alive and running. However, in the 2025 NBA era that we're in, every young rising star needs that running mate. And, the NBA is going over to France. They're having games internationally. They're building around Wemby. You got to have him on not a contending team right now. Just put him on a team or have him on a team in which they're competitive, in which they're more watchable. They are appointment viewing. Wemby was appointment viewing, but only especially if ESPN had him, because then you're like, who's everybody else? Who is Trey Jones? Who is Zach Collins, right? Coming into this year, you knew Chris Paul, right? That helped, but it's not going to grow the Spurs fan base. De'Aaron Fox will. He absolutely will. And that duo, that connection, I think it's going to be, if they keep them together long term, that's going to be a high powered 1-2 punch in the NBA. And I don't know how many teams are going to be able to compete with that week in and week out through the course of an NBA season. This is the first step. These trades, right? We want to break down, who won, who lost, who did. This is the first step. Get your building blocks in place. Luka's now a Laker. Anthony Davis is a Maverick. De'Aaron Fox is a Spur. Those are the three names. And we want to do instant winners. It's not going to happen. Let's talk about the Lakers 5 years from now. Let's see if Nico Harrison's window for the Dallas Mavericks opens and is rewarded a championship in the next 3-4 years, which is what he said. And then let's see the Spurs. So it's great to react. That's why I'm doing this. But you can't analyze before any of them step on the court. You're not going to know. But it's easy to see in which direction these teams are going. The Bulls are in the bottom of the barrel. They're tanking. The Kings, they're setting themselves up to be in good shape. The Spurs have their point guard. The Lakers have their future face and their face now. And the Mavericks are doing what they believe is best for them. And doing what's best for them is going to be the way we close out this show. Because the other big story I wanted to talk about, and I'm gonna get fired up because you see the Boston Celtics get up, but right here, the Chicago Bears. You can't see it. This thing's in the way, right? You can't see it completely. But I want to talk. We're not gonna do Super Bowl yet, but we are gonna talk a little Super Bowl because this is huge. Opening night for the Super Bowl festivities was Monday night. And I mean, the guy who should run away with the Offensive Player of the Year award this year Eagles running back Saquon Barkley was almost not an Eagle and was almost a Chicago Bear. I kid you not. Speaking to the media in New Orleans, Barkley said that the deal came pretty damn close for him to be a Chicago Bear. And that is massive, right? That is massive on so many levels because number one, and I think most importantly, Saquon would not have had the year he had he come to Chicago. I think that's clear and obvious. Um, this was the right decision for Barkley to sign with the Eagles. Their offensive line, their championship pedigree, year in, year out. They're back against the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl for the second time in 3 years, right? But now you start to wonder where the Bears are as a franchise. They went out and got the coach that no one thought they could in Ben Johnson. They're reportedly paying him $13 million. A lot of critics and haters will say I'm wrong for this, but I directly attribute this to the arrival of Caleb Williams. And if Caleb Williams and his presence gets people considering Chicago, imagine what's going to happen in year two. We know the free agency and draft plan for this season, right? It's going to be offensive lineman, defensive lineman, pass rush, right? Maybe a playmaker or two, maybe a running back, maybe a third or fourth receiver. There's going to be options, but the focus remains in the trenches. Now you start to look, in a couple years you got to pay Caleb, probably have to pay Rome Odunze. We'll see what's DJ Moore's already locked up. We don't know exactly where the Bears cap situation will fall until after this offseason. But now you have to wonder how many players are going to watch the Chicago Bears in 2025 and see what Ben Johnson can do with Caleb Williams. And if there's success, how many players are going to want to be in Chicago? How many players are going to take less than market value to be with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams? Because Saquon Barkley nearly signed to be with Matt Eberflus and Caleb Williams and a horrid offensive line. If you can show you can protect the quarterback and you've built from the inside out and your defense is back to the historic Bears defenses that they've been known for throughout decades in the NFL, and then you show the rest of the NFL world that they caught up, right? Because for so long, the Bears have had no quarterback ever, right? They've always had great running games and even better defenses, right? If you can catch up to today's NFL, a quarterback driven league, and Caleb Williams is taking you to playoff appearances and big wins and a above 500 record, how many guys? How many guys are going to look at the Chicago Bears in 2025, in 2026, and moving forward? And it's an interesting plot to watch going into next year, going into the 2025 season, because according to ESPN, Ryan Poles is expected to sign an extension to align him with Ben Johnson. Ryan Poles has not been afraid of the big move, been afraid of the big trade or the big signing. It's a lot of things to watch for the Chicago Bears. Because if Saquon would have came here in 2024, and when I say here, obviously the Chicago Bears franchise, if Saquon would have came to Chicago in 2024, not only would we have missed out as football fans on one of the best rushing seasons of all time, not only would the Eagles more than likely not be Super Bowl contenders, the Bears would have ruined one of the greatest offensive players we've seen in the past 10 years. Now let's see if they get it right. Now let's see, because we heard Tom Brady recently said it. He was close to signing with Chicago when he was a free agent before he went to Tampa. So Tom Brady, Saquon Barkley. And those names sound good given their history and their records and all that they've done and their accolades. But where's the next one? I don't want the Devontae Adams or the Tyreek Hills of the world. Not anything against them. Who's the next young star that is going to look at the Bears and Ben Johnson? It's just interesting to note. For so long, the Bears were looked at upon, around the league as a mom and pop shop. Would they break the bank? Would they be aggressive? Would they do this? Would they do that? And now we're at a point where the answer is yes, they will go pay a coach 13 million. Yes, they will trade the number one pick and get a plethora of picks back. Yes, they will draft Caleb Williams over Jaden Daniels. And yes, maybe just yes, the Bears are a future hotbed for young talent in the National Football League. I am Mike Pendleton. Follow me on X, also known as Twitter, MP2310. Subscribe to this channel. There will be interviews. I'm going to try to get some interviews lined up with NFL draft prospects. We're going to try to do all that. Again, we're going to look to bring 2 videos a week. And then obviously we'll have clips on social, Instagram, TikTok, X. Follow me on all social media platforms. And I'll leave your thoughts. Your thoughts on the Lakers and Mavericks trade. How good are the Spurs with De'Aaron Fox? And what would have been if Saquon Barkley was a Chicago Bear in 2024? Until next time, we'll see you soon, everybody.